On November 18, 1978, in the remote jungle of Guyana, 918 members of the People's Temple perished in one of the largest mass tragedies in modern history. Among the dead were over 300 children. Looking back at photos of Jonestown, it is tempting to view these individuals as radical fanatics or mentally unstable outcasts. But the reality is far more terrifying. The people who drank the poison were nurses, teachers, engineers, college students, and devoted parents. Just years earlier, they were living ordinary lives in American suburbs. They were not crazy, stupid, or weak-minded. They were human. The central question that haunts psychologists, criminologists, and sociologists to this day is simple yet profound: how does a rational, everyday person get manipulated into surrendering their autonomy, their family, and ultimately their life? The answer lies not in mysterious brainwashing rays, but in a systematic, invisible psychological playbook that can be deployed against almost anyone under the right conditions. To understand cult recruitment, we have to look back at the origins of modern coercive persuasion research. Following the Korean War in the early 1950s, psychiatrist Robert J. Lifton studied American prisoners of war who had undergone intense ideological re-education. Lifton identified key elements of what he termed thought reform, including total environment control, the manipulation of guilt, and the demand for absolute purity. By the 1960s and 1970s, social upheavals in North America and Western Europe created a perfect storm. Young people were searching for meaning, justice, and community amid political instability, racial tensions, and economic shifts. Charismatic leaders capitalized on this vulnerability. In 1955, Jim Jones established the People's Temple in Indianapolis, promising a socialist paradise of racial equality and spiritual healing. In 1965, he relocated his followers to Ukiah, California, and later to San Francisco in 1971. Jones did not recruit followers by preaching doom and death, he recruited them by promising a better world. Around the same time, groups like the Unification Church led by Sun Myung Moon, the Children of God led by David Berg, and later Marshall Applewhite's Heaven's Gate began expanding using surprisingly similar techniques. Sociologist Margaret Singer observed that these groups were not selling weird beliefs at the front door, they were selling warmth, acceptance, and social purpose. Consider the real case of Deborah Layton, who joined the People's Temple in 1970 as a bright 18-year-old high school graduate. Deborah was not searching for a cult, she was simply looking for direction and a sense of moral purpose. Her recruitment followed a precise, multi-stage psychological pipeline. Stage 1 is love bombing. When a target first encounters the group, they are showered with intense affection, overwhelming compliments, and unconditional acceptance. Members hug them, praise their intelligence, and validate their deepest insecurities. For Deborah, the People's Temple felt like the warmest, most inclusive family she had ever known. Stage 2 is the gradual erosion of boundaries through micro-commitments. Leaders never demand complete surrender on day 1. Instead, they ask for tiny sacrifices, attend a weekend seminar, make a modest donation, or volunteer a few hours at a soup kitchen. Over months, these requests escalate into donating entire paychecks, moving into communal housing, and cutting ties with outside friends who express skepticism. By 1975, Deborah was working 18 hours a day for the temple, exhausted and deprived of sleep. Sleep deprivation is a vital tool because a fatigued brain cannot critically evaluate incoming information. Stage 3 is milieu control and information filtering. Jim Jones gradually restricted access to outside news, claiming the media was controlled by corrupt enemies trying to destroy their peaceful movement. Members were instructed to report on each other's doubts, creating a culture of paranoia where even thinking a critical thought felt dangerous. Stage 4 is identity replacement. Deborah was assigned new duties, forced to sign false confessions of past misdeeds to be used as blackmail, and persuaded to sign over her assets. By the time Jim Jones ordered his followers to move to the jungle compound in Guyana in 1977, Deborah felt completely trapped. Her financial assets were gone, her reputation was held hostage by false confessions, her support system was destroyed, and her reality was entirely defined by the group. She eventually managed a harrowing escape in May 1978, just 6 months before the final tragedy, proving that even those deep inside can break free, but only if they overcome an overwhelming psychological web designed to keep them trapped. How do psychologists explain this terrifying level of control? Several prominent theories provide clarity. First is Leon Festinger's theory of cognitive dissonance, developed in 1956 after studying a UFO cult called the Seekers led by Dorothy Martin. When the predicted apocalypse failed to materialize on December 21, 1956, instead of admitting they were wrong, the core members became even more devoted, believing their faith had saved the world. When people invest their time, money, and identity into a belief system, admitting they were duped causes immense psychological pain. To avoid that pain, the brain rationalizes increasingly extreme demands. Second is the bite model, developed by cult counselor Stephen Hassan, a former member of the Unification Church. The model categorizes manipulation into 4 overlapping domains: behavior control, information control, thought control, and emotional control. By dictating what members wear, what media they consume, what language they use, and how they feel guilt or fear, the cult systematically rewrites the individual's internal operating system. Third is the fundamental attribution error, a psychological bias where outside observers assume cult victims are simply foolish or gullible. Research shows that intelligence offers very little protection against cult recruitment. In fact, high achievers, idealists, and intellectually curious individuals are often prime targets because they are eager to engage deeply with complex systems and work hard for a cause. Vulnerability is situational. Going through a breakup, losing a job, moving to a new city, or experiencing personal grief creates temporary emotional instability that recruiters exploit with surgical precision. Today, the mechanics of cult recruitment have evolved for the digital age. We no longer need to be approached by a stranger on a college campus or invited to a retreat in the woods. Algorithms on YouTube, TikTok, Reddit, and Telegram deliver hyper-targeted content directly to isolated individuals, effectively automating the love bombing and information filtering stages. Modern groups, ranging from commercial multi-level marketing schemes and extremist political movements to wellness cults like NXIVM, run by Keith Raniere until his arrest in 2018, use the exact same psychological architecture that Jim Jones used decades ago. What we understand now is that cults do not change who you are, they construct an artificial persona that smothers your original self. Recognizing the red flags: isolation from loved ones, demands for total allegiance, us versus them mentalities, and leaders who are above criticism is our best defense. Ultimately, understanding cult psychology reminds us of a fundamental truth: human beings have a deep, evolutionary need to belong. That need makes us capable of incredible compassion, but when weaponized by malicious manipulators, it can lead ordinary people down a path of tragic destruction. If you found this deep dive into human psychology insightful, please hit the like button and share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever noticed these manipulation tactics in everyday life? Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss our next investigation. Thanks for watching.